ladies getting on the big rules, they get a little upset when they're made. I'm not home, they cry at home, and then they fight for another, and they pull me up on Michael Vick charges. So, where's the guy yesterday looking for? Had boots on me, Jim. You didn't call me out.
Not yet, I was gonna wait. So
You know, you were still waiting.
I was wondering why, I was
So,
waiting for it to come up.
Tell them what you were going to call me out on.
I was just saying, you know, whenever I do patrols and sneakers, so I will work out with boots all the time.
Who here's never done patrols with sneakers? Mike, you done patrols with sneakers?
Yep.
I have. Everything on? That's a good point. What did you have on your feet yesterday? No, what you have on?
Socks and boots.
Oh, do you think you're going to get to have that? Oh, ready, brother. Oh, ready. I'm ready. I'm going to tell you something, a little secret, okay? This young lady's daddy used to be the commander of SEER school, okay? You're going to wish your feet was tough and you went without socks. I'll just leave it at that. I remember my first sergeant major I had, I was telling you all about John Macionis. He used to walk, road march, barefoot. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Or you think that's guaranteed? That's pretty anti-fragile there, ain't it? Yeah. That's why he was a bad son of a bitch. Right? That's good stuff. Good call. You should have called me out, man. Golly. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit this afternoon about a couple things. I mean, has this fancy thing that can say applying the moral process, and I have this like did you guys see the slide little program they had? Yeah, did about puke when you saw it? Yeah. What does that fucking mean? That's why I asked you. So, and I don't expect you to have a complete answer today, because I know when I first started doing this course, I didn't have a complete answer. I don't think I ever will. Okay? About what I actually believe. Okay? Because if you're going to make a moral decision, which, is there a decision that's not a moral decision? Yeah. Okay. We believe that let's moral on that tonight. Okay. It's a great question, though. So that decision you have to make when you come to that and see that sign is an octagon, it has red, it says stop, it's not a moral decision. That decision to show up today is that a moral decision. It's dangerous ground, right? So knowing what we believe, how many of you, when you did this thing, could do that right away? You? Anybody else? Pretty set? What were yours, bro?
3, sir. Try to achieve peace of mind.
Okay.
Truly being thankful and having fun.
Like, good stuff. Why is that last? Everybody always says it, but I don't know why. Why do you say that?
Because, I mean, trying to maximize your fun in life, there's going to be many times in life where it can't be fun. But making a conscious effort to try and have fun when you can.
It means no matter what the circumstance, I can put you in a cardboard box, turn you upside down, you're like, I can make this relax. You do that, brother, you're a bad son of a bitch. Right? I like
Huge heat round for it. Basically one of the organizers worked on camp brought his kid who had just gotten burned really bad that morning to the front gate. The guy worked at one of the shops. He wasn't good enough to really at all. And the colonel, basically the team leader picked it up, and the colonel happened to be in the office when the radio went off. He goes, bring him in. We're going to evac. Evac him all the way to Bagram. Sent one of our senior medics with him. They didn't want to operate him in Bagram, but basically our medic also took E round because he basically carried the kid into the team. So he said, here's body. Fix it. Our colonel was gonna retire anyway, so it was, he did a lot of things, what he thought would be, what he wanted, things, he did things the way he wanted to do them, rather than like, what was it, Army's right.
It's interesting, because we got two different scenarios. In my opinion, both of them are right. Anybody disagree with that? I don't care if you do. Believe you disagree. I think that's an interesting perspective too. I wonder if he'd have done that when he was a captain.
No, he shared the policy. He would.
Think about that. I respect that less than I do when he did. Like, you're gonna take a heat round, better be what you believe, right? You definitely believe what you're doing. Else you go crazy, right? Danger with this, is that we create our beliefs after the fact. Human beings, if you don't know, that are great storytellers, who will make facts fit our beliefs, okay? That's why I had to go through this exercise. It should be an everyday exercise for you. What do I actually believe when those tough decisions come of how you can handle those situations, right? Who else has got a situation in hand? Everybody's gonna watch, so I had to bring back Captain James and they come to it from.
I got one that's not as detrimental.
Okay.
I was at PL in Korea, and we had a training event. We're sitting out overnight, Korean winter, February. We were in a defensive position, supposed to be awaiting probable enemy attack, and our guys were literally sitting out there for probably close to 12 hours, no sleep system, no real cold weather gear. I made the call. I was like, hey, we're picking up. We're going back to the barracks. Guys are gonna go grab a couple hours of sleep. In the morning before the sun came up, got everybody up, got them on LTV, pushed them back to the position. We assumed the mission. The battalion commander saw the whole thing from, I guess, one of the OC towers on the FLIR. And I got reading pretty hard. One way or another, it kind of turned into a letter of admonition I received from commanding general there in Korea and some other stuff. So. But I was wanting to take the heat from the chain of command to ensure my guys weren't going to be out in the cold, possibly getting injured.
Okay. What do you guys think about that? Yeah.
I would just ask you a question. How do you think that changed the way your soldiers perceived you as a leader?
Oh, it affirmed 100% my leadership or that. Just my willingness to step outside of, what is perceived as right in the chain of command. For looking out for the goodwill of my guys. They saw that as a plus, at least in my opinion.
Good. All right. What else you guys believe? What do you believe in?
That I serve God in everything that I do. Family is everything. And
So how would that affect, what we go through, Perry, he can give you a hard when you're making that decision that he's making, how would you consider those things?
well, as a leader, and I mean, as a family man, so everything that my daughter and my wife needs, the needs of our family comes first. I approach the same with my soldiers. So if it's dangerous or if they're not being taken care of or something is inherently wrong in the situation, then they need to be taken care of first. So John was right.
Anybody else? What's your belief?
I actually didn't have like a set of principal beliefs, so I just kind of thought about what I could, if I had to pick something that I could really use. The first one I found was to never be completely satisfied with where I am, always change, always self-assess with brutal honesty, continue to develop. The second one was setting success limits and capping my performance is like one of the worst things I can do for myself. kind of goes along with the first one, but I mean, for example, you know, if I have an idea of success and that's where I stop, then obviously that's also very negative.
Right.
And then the last one was live for me, not an obligation. So, you know, asking myself, like, for example, like, why am I here? Am I here because I want to be here for myself, or I feel obligated to because, you know, someone in my family was a Green Beret for however many years. Am I obligated to do the right thing because I don't want to get in trouble, or am I doing it for myself, for what I believe?
I like that. That's spot on. So if you're thinking like that, it sounds to some people maybe like a self-respect thing. I don't think it is. I think that's talking about integrity right there. You know what I mean? You don't feel like it's not an outside entity that's putting you here. Like, I'm submitting myself to. I mean, that's part of the reason, if you don't understand what selection is, part of the reason we put you through selection, the harder times you have in selection, the more committed you are to us. Because you're gonna spend the rest of your life justifying why the fuck you put a 70-pound pack on your back and went around 3 fucking weeks having the shit kicked out of you. Everybody else would look at you like, are you crazy? So you like create that narrative afterwards. But if you go there with that, no, I'm here on my own terms. Guys that come there on their own terms, seldom struggle. Seldom. I can tell you when they walk, I used to have 2 civilians that worked for me. When you first go in there and you come up and you hand them your ID and you say, I'm Sergeant Michael Perry, E5. They were 90% correct on calling who would get selected and who wouldn't. Just by that. Because they'd seen so many guys come. And you can tell how they're going to carry themselves about the whole thing. He came there with his purpose in mind. I'm not here to satisfy anybody else. I want to do this. Right? Are you going to ask that? Good. Good for you. All right. I'm not going to beat the applied and moral process to death. I will tell you though, let's talk about the counseling, okay? When your assignment for the day, I'll write this down, is to go back, relook at what you wrote, and based on your experience today, how you would change that, okay? What you can live with. That's what should be on that counseling statement. What you can live with. Everybody understand what I'm saying? Everybody tracking? Okay? Anybody done that before? You obviously had never sat down and said, hey, here's what I believe. That should be in that counseling statement. It should be about why you're here and why you're doing what you're doing. I've had kids in this class say, you know what? I don't need to be here. I respected that. He went back to the infantry. He's a former, I think he was
18 Charlie.
18 Charlie, what about, he probably had 18 years in the Army. 10 to 15 of it had been SF. He said, sir, I don't know why I'm doing this. I feel obligated by everybody else that I'm supposed to be here. I really want to be an infantry officer. I said, brother, you need to go back. So he did. It's the right decision. Okay? You should be here on your own terms. So, based on what we talked about today, so tell me what kind of things you would put on there.
Maybe one of the things was like, more the, not so much values, I guess, kind of make myself more or less fragile on saying like, you know, try to limit on, just an example, like AC or like, I try to like see what my comfort zones are and try to get myself out of this comfort zone and see what I can live without. And then that kind of goes into what, because I had budget on there before, but wasn't down to like the nitty-gritty. Just like, hey, can you live without this for a month? See what that actually does. It change the way you do it, and then just kind of work down like that.
Sure. Yeah.
Counseling, then, I may not be hearing you right, or maybe I'm off, but that counseling needs to be more of not a pre-written thing you give that soldier or whoever it is. That needs to be a conversation, with key questions that you, hey, what do you identify? What's your values? Okay, boom. Then you fill in the counseling as you go.
So here, that's not the way it is. My approach is when these guys come to me, when you work for me, first thing you do, you're gonna write your report. Whether you're an NCO or you're an officer, you're gonna write it. That's our contract. That's what you're gonna tell me you're gonna do. That's what I believe. See what I'm saying? So when that kid comes in, if I had a private, he'd come in, I'd be like, all right, tell me where you wanna be. Tell me how you wanna get there. Okay? See what I'm saying? There's a difference. He don't buy into it, it's just you going, you're gonna be like this. He ain't gonna be there when the shit hits the fan. Everybody knows he's gonna be there when shit hits the fan. Guy got buy-in, he's gonna be there. So he's gotta be part of that process, right? You know what I mean? I can force you to do so much stuff. But what I want is, I wanna know what's gonna happen when somebody's shooting at you and I'm standing beside you. Bottom line, right? How are you gonna perform? What are you gonna do? You gonna leave me hanging? You know what I'm saying? What brought this idea on was I had this kid in Korea. He was my FO. One day they made my platoon the op 4 for the entire brigade. Put us up in the mountains, the way the infantry does it. They send the frags and the tanks through the valleys, and they had the light infantry clear the high ground, right? So we put us up in the high ground. We were light guys. We set up a few obstacles trying to slow the tankers down, but you know, death before dismount type shit. Slow them down, put a bunch of linear targets out there and just call for fire. Lit their asses up. He won, you know, I gave him some kind of medal, Army Achievement Medal or whatever, you know. But damn near had to take it away from him. Or didn't issue it to him because by the time we got back, he was in trouble. He was fighting, pissing off the bus, drinking normal stuff that an E4 in Korea does. You know, those physically fit alcoholics in the Army, right? He was a great kid though. Man, we go to the field, that son of a bitch was on it. You have to figure out how to motivate this kid. 2006, this kid that was in 96, he was an E4. Fantastic, he was the best FO I ever had, including when I was in the Red. Awesome guy. 2006, he's E6. 10 years later. Yeah, fuck. The reason I know he was in E6 is because he was the first Medal of Honor that President Obama won for his actions in Afghanistan. He was still doing the right shit when it mattered. I knew he was a good kid. I just couldn't figure out how to get him on track. And I think about done stuff like that, and he got him on track. What a fantastic kid that we let down. That he kept doing the right thing when he had to. You know what I mean? So getting those kids, I knew I could count on him, even though everybody else, all the commanders, they were trying to hammer him. But I never did figure out how to get him to stop being in trouble. You know what I mean? So that's part of it. I think we throw away a lot of soldiers because they're misbehaving. If they're anything like me, if you leave me unchallenged, bored, that's a dangerous animal. You get this class. I don't know if that answers your question.
It does.
Okay? What else? What would you put on there?
I think I would have tailored it a little more, not to achieve success in this course so much, but just to achieve success as a person, and just overall, which would have led into being successful.
What do you guys monitor every day? Anybody?
News.
Who said that? News. Careful of that noise. What's that?
Fitness.
You monitor it every day? How do you monitor that?
Remember, I usually do similar workouts every week, so I just remember the workout every week and try to go a little bit, either hit the same or go a little more depending on what it is I'm doing.
I mean, you know what your cholesterol is. Your heart rate, resting heart rate is. I mean, you know what you eat every day. How much you sleep. This is a big. How many have a day where you just say, you know what, I ain't fucking doing nothing? You better have that. Better have it. How many of you have days where you say, you know what, I'm sleeping 12 fucking hours? You better have it. I used to not be that way. I believe if you slept more than 4 hours a day, you're an idiot. That didn't work out. You didn't know it, but I'm only 38 years old. you're downrange, how many of you had a commander? Making calls. Everybody's had that. Hell, some of you've been that commander, right? System 1, System 2, kind of, where do you think he's getting his decision from? Did you know that he can actually be impacted by if he just got off the telephone with his wife and was discussing his kids, and he goes in and takes a brief, he's been primed by that. And he will make decisions off that, especially if he's overstressed, meaning underfed, too many emails, too little sleep, too much worried about taking a deep round. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna happen to all of you if you let it. Okay? All right. What else? What else you gonna put on it? Somebody over here talking. Yeah.
Just ownership in what you're doing.
Ah, I like that. That's great. Everybody hear what he said? That's right. Be that decent person. I own it. This is my shit ball. Right?
Yep, you list your beliefs on there.
Yeah. That's a great way to do it. Always clarifying that, see. That kid. I was in the Ranger Regiment. I had such a weird plethora of everything from Wiccans to Mormons. That made a fun platoon. Right? Once you know that, you're gonna see some weird shit going on. You're gonna wonder why kids are doing things the way they do them. All right. So I'd ask you to go back tonight and relook at that kind of thing. Do it as you do yourself, and figure out how you can improve that system, of how you actually build relationships with the people that work with you, and how you're gonna monitor that, okay? How do you monitor whether they're doing what you want them to do, or what they say they want? How do you monitor yourself? You have time every day, where you sit down. How many people make themselves write something every day? Good shit. So, we're gonna finish up here. You're gonna get out early. Maybe 2 minutes. All right? Let me get my glasses. I spent a lot of money on it. Oh, first let's figure out who's gonna earn $20. Anybody figure out what today was about?
Dan thinks he knows, sir.
You don't say.
Well, sir, you want to physically show you or kind of just talk to you what I was thinking about?
Physically show me, that would be.
Interpretive dance. Interpretive dance.
Interpretive dance, I like it.
I'll talk to it, sir, and then if I'm right, then we'll walk through it physically. So my thought process was maybe when you ask that question, just walk to your face, and then slap you across the face, and then be like, self. Let's figure this next. Let's see what happens. You know, I put myself in a spot that I thought is going to challenge me. You know, get away. That was my thing.
So it's for somebody to go up and slap me?
No, that puts me. I've just challenged myself. You know, like you said, you always challenge yourself.
I got that. I'd be jiggy with that. That's interesting. What's that?
Sir, I think we might have actually said it halfway through today. I think 8 of us are actually going to end up being in charge, but every one of us sitting in the room think we know exactly where we're going, and for 92% of us, it's not going to be what we think. And so today is about being prepared for what's going to happen, which isn't what we think is going to happen.
Now I wish I was. No.
I think it was, and I'm not just trying to kiss your ass, but I think it was an unconventional approach to resilience. It was pretty good. Well, it was better than the crappy PowerPoint slides.
It's close.
A different way to look at resiliency also, not just the Army's definition blanket, like, oh, we're gonna bring back these people who have either been deployed or going through these training exercises, they're gonna be the exact same. Now that we've done this class and we're gonna send them back to their family and they're gonna be resilient and they're not gonna have having issues, now you have to, as leaders, you have to look at, like, there's gonna be issues. And they're gonna change, and how to develop those subordinates, peers, and also your leaders to use those changes for the good. And look at your, like, your moral compasses and the direction you want to have them go, and also yourself.
It's just pretty close. Pretty close. Yeah.
I think it's about finding an internal truth, sir.
Okay.
That's-
a reason
that sounds
I
really
have.
fair.
It's a reason. That is fucking, that's your spot on. I'd almost give you $20, but I'd be like violating my integrity. That's pretty good. That's pretty close. Yeah.
It's basically building anti-fragility in ourselves so that we can build our subordinates and our peers when we actually go out there and do.
Pretty close.
I mean, it hasn't at all been just about integrity, just in general. I mean, that was like, doesn't that word come from Integros when the legionnaires would line up and they'd strike their spear to their shield?
All these reasons again.
It just came.
I've never had this happen before.
And then, you know, that they said they were complete in all forms, in all realms of their life.
That's a great reason to hold this class. That's a great reason. That's a great reason to hold this class.
Earlier.
That's not. That's not the reason. When you hear what it is, you're gonna be like, huh?
Really, because the Army told you you had to teach class.
It's actually fairly close. It's on to a trail. Okay, go down that trail. Monthly training.
What I have to do possibly with the idea of resiliency, it's not like a set formula, that it actually is internalized, like your resiliency is based on you yourself, your integrity, everything we've talked about today. And the only way really to harness resiliency is to look inside yourself, really do a self-assessment on exactly what it is that's gonna make you a stronger person.
No, read fucking read, but no.
I'll give it up. It.
I'll tell you this, it's just 2 words. Self-awareness.
I got one.
It's close.
Better yourself.
Self-exploration.
Master yourself.
Okay, who's the class leader? Is there a class leader?
Ben Franklin.
Alright, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna give this to Ben Franklin, and then, you guys, figure out what you wanna do with it, buy yourself lunch or whatever. I'll tell you what, coffee is on me for everybody, okay? Although that's another weakness, you might wanna So, whatever you can do with that. So what this class today was about, if you don't know, obviously, was suicide prevention. Now it all makes sense. Right? Okay? That's what that was about today. All right? Suicide prevention class. All right? So now you know that when you do a class, you don't necessarily have to do it the way the Army said you have to do it. I think this is probably a little bit better for suicide prevention than what we get. It's become so much more. It becomes much more. Listen, I do think about suicide prevention as in, this is an ethical thing that we're not talking about. We're leaving it up to psychologists and everybody else to solve. What we're saying is it's a problem. And we're not taking ownership of, hey, I'm a human being, I run my life, right? And I can figure out how to make myself hard. I can figure out how to make myself grow from all the experiences I have and all the experiences we all have. And so, I don't need to go tell them, hey, my soldier looks like he's gonna kill himself. No, come here, brother. We're gonna talk about this. Have you had anybody commit suicide? It's an awful thing, right? So, we let them down at some point, because we never had that conversation, right? We never went up and slapped the old colonel in the face. Probably should have. Right? So, I'm gonna tell you what I created this, whole thing about this is the first time I've done the thing on council. Because I think it's an important thing that we just kind of handwave, right? So I'm gonna tell you what started this, one of my favorite people, wrote this and read this at my mother's funeral in 2009. My mother had struggled with Alzheimer's for about 5 years. And when I heard that, I was like, that's what I want to be. What this is about my mother and my father. Okay? And so, this is what he read. It said, last day, an admirable approach to a shit sandwich. Every day, she lies trapped in a bed with a body that no longer functions and a mind that is at best sporadically conscious. An old man comes and visits her daily to feed her and to ensure she's being cared for in the respectful manner she deserves. He has loved her for more than 55 years now, and his devotion to her has never wavered. Most folks would say she would be better off dead, but they do not witness the daily display of character and virtue portrayed by this old man and old woman. They live each day as if it's the last, not in the grandiose fashion of going skydiving or some stupid grand adventure, but rather they live it as the best human beings they can be right now. They realized long ago that everything and everyone will soon be forgotten, and the greatest contributions that they could make to the human race was to live a life of moderation, of courage to always do the right thing, of patience to deal with the hand that fate has dealt them, and above all else, service to their fellow human beings. Their reputation, status, career, and wealth have never been their primary concern. They live each day like a rock, unmoved by the crashing waves or the calm waters. Their character is always the same, above reproach. I appreciate you guys for